What's going on, guys? The SSN back again with another video. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you're having a great day so far, and welcome to the long-awaited 32-team NFL mock draft. Now, I know this one had to wait a while, and I am very sorry that it waited so long. It's been about a week since I've posted. I've had a lot of personal stuff that I've had to get to, and that really took priority, so this kind of got put on the back burner. But on the positive side, it gave me a lot more time to kind of do my research, make sure I'm just, I'm not some idiot in front of a camera who doesn't know what he's talking about. So I wanted to make sure I'm as on point with my analysis as possible. So before we get straight into the content, if you could do me a massive favor and subscribe to the channel down below and like this video, because those two things help grow the channel absolutely a ton. And they mean a lot to me too. So I appreciate the support in advance. Let's go ahead and get cracking straight away. To start it off, I think the top two picks are pretty much said and done. I don't really think there needs to be much of a discussion. Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are the guys for their respective teams. I think that's where they're going. I think it's locked in at this point. Now, at number 3 is where I really see the draft truly starting. San Francisco definitely traded up for a quarterback. It's just a matter of who we think it could be. And I know a lot of people are mocking Mac Jones to the 49ers, but I really am just not buying it. I think it's just a smokescreen at this point. And really, if I'm San Francisco, I am taking Justin Fields, no doubt about it. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback with lots of upside. And they traded up for one. Why not take Justin Fields, potentially the second best quarterback in this entire class? All right, at number 4, the Atlanta Falcons definitely have some options, but I really think that with Matt Ryan restructuring that contract, he'll probably be around for a couple of more years, and why not try and take advantage of the opportunity they have right now to put even a better team around him. Now, obviously they could address defense, but I think right now with Kyle Pitts on the board at number 4, that makes a lot of sense. Put another weapon out there. Julio is getting up there in age, so just kind of getting a fresh young face with tons of talent makes a ton of sense to me. Number 5, Cincinnati. They definitely have a lot of options here. Jamar Chase is mocked, Penei Sewell is mocked, but someone who I don't see mocked to the Bengals a whole lot is Rashawn Slater, and I think he's a really, really solid offensive tackle coming out of Northwestern. Handled Chase Young like it was a breeze a couple of years ago, and I think that if they want straight out of the gate protection for Joe Burrow, someone who is NFL ready right out of the jump, Rashawn Slater is a really, really solid option for Cincinnati. All right, Miami at number 6. I think it's pretty clear that they need a pass catcher. They just need guys around Tua to really kind of bring out the best of what he can do for the team. And with Jamar Chase sitting on the board at number 6, that's about as good as it gets. This is a slam dunk pick. I have no problem with Jamar Chase, and he is the number 1 wide receiver of the future. Detroit sitting here at number 7 certainly could be a trade down spot. They could also take a quarterback if they really felt inclined to do so, but trading for Jared Goff, I just think they're probably going to want to see what they can really get out of him. So because of that, I think you need to get him weapons. Losing Kenny Golladay, losing Marvin Jones, I think it's really clear that Detroit could use a pass catcher, and Jalen Waddle is about as good as it gets. He could certainly, you could argue that he is wide receiver number 1. I think it makes a lot of sense for Detroit and would help Jared Goff kind of establish whether he is a good option there or not. All right, Carolina at number 8. I think they need offensive tackle desperately. They traded for Sam Darnold. He's going to need protection. And with Penei Sewell falling all the way to 8, this is an easy pick for Carolina. Denver at number 9. I think a lot of people tend to mock defense, but if Trey Lance is sitting there on the board, this would be a pick to absolutely run up to the podium if Trey Lance is there at number 9. Drew Lock clearly is not the long-term option. He was decent, but nothing special, and I don't see a lot of a future there in Denver for him. So Trey Lance is a guy who can develop a little bit, who could also have superstar potential down the road. I think that changes things for Denver and makes a ton of sense. Dallas sitting here at number 10. This is a pick that everybody and their mother and their grandmother makes, but I'm going to make it too. Patrick Surtain out of Alabama makes a ton of sense for Dallas. They need secondary help super badly. They have lost their top 2 guys in the last 2 years, so it's the perfect match. It really just makes a lot of sense, and I think Patrick Surtain will fit in really well in Dallas. All right, the New York Giants at number 11. Definitely could go with a pass catcher if they wanted to, but I think with Kenny Golladay signing with them, they might wait until the second round because this is a really, really deep wide receiver class. And if I'm New York and I got a wide receiver in free agency and I might be willing to wait a little bit on it, I think that Micah Parsons is a really, really good option here. He would fit in great with the scheme, and he's a game changer. He is a super athletic, versatile guy. He would just bring a total presence to that defense and really help things out in New York. Philadelphia sitting here at number 12. I really think that they're going to need a pass catcher. They need that desperately. Everyone is mocking a pass catcher to Philadelphia. There are a couple of guys that are mocking maybe a cornerback to Philadelphia, which they also really need. But I think Devontae Smith is on the board. This is pretty good value for him at number 12. I think they're really going to like him as an option for Jalen Hurts to get the ball to long term. So that wraps things up for Philadelphia. Now moving on to LA. The Chargers definitely need offensive line badly. They need to protect Herbert. This was a guy who was constantly under pressure last year. And with the top two guys coming off the board, Christian Darrisaw, you could almost, argue that he is the top two type of guy. He is really, really good. Had a great year out of Virginia Tech. Plays left tackle. You've got Brian Bulaga on the right side. You signed Corey Linsley, and that offensive line is already looking 10 times better. Just makes a lot of sense. Herbert needs that protection. All right, Minnesota at number 14. This is an interesting pick. They could go a lot of different ways, but I think right now it makes a ton of sense for Kwity Paye to get drafted to Minnesota. This is a guy very similar to Danielle Hunter coming out of college. All the physical tools, all of that, high motor type of play, just not a ton of stats, not a ton of, production on paper. And I think that fits in really well with what Minnesota is able to do with their defensive ends. Just look at what Danielle Hunter has done in the NFL. And with him potentially moving on from the team pretty soon, Kwity Paye should be able to step in and produce right away. All right, number 15, the New England Patriots. I think I've got them here taking Mac Jones, a guy who potentially they could even trade up for in real life, depending on how the board falls. But I don't think they should trade up for Mac Jones. I think they should sit at 15. And if he falls to them, that's a fine pick. If he doesn't, then you could also go in a ton of other directions. You could get a pass catcher. You could get some defense. But if Mac Jones is there at 15, it makes a lot of sense. He can develop in a great system and potentially be a pretty good quarterback for a long time. All right, the Arizona Cardinals at number 16. These guys desperately need a cornerback, and with J.C. Horn still on the board at number 16, this is a slam dunk pick. This is a really easy selection. With Pat Pete leaving Arizona, they desperately need some help in the secondary, and with J.C. Horn testing and his measurables being as outstanding as they were during his pro day, I think that he shot up the board a ton for a lot of people as well. I think this is a really good fit, and he could be that number one cornerback in the future. All right, number 17, the Las Vegas Raiders. They need offensive line. I don't know if they hate Derek Carr, if they just want him out of Las Vegas, but the poor guy has literally no protection now. They've pretty much cleared out their offensive line. And so because of that, I think they should probably take a more versatile guy. That way in the future, if they draft a left tackle when they already drafted one this year, they don't have to worry about kind of moving those pieces around and asking guys to play positions that they haven't before. Elijah Vera Tucker fits in great with that mentality. This is a guy who can move all along the offensive line on both sides of the ball, and he plays at a really high level. So I like him a lot, filling in and kind of helping start a new wave of solid offensive line work in Las Vegas. All right, the Miami Dolphins at number 18. This is an interesting pick, and I am a Dolphins fan, so I had to ponder this one quite a bit and think about, what would I really be happy with the Dolphins taking at 18? Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is certainly a really, really good player, but I'm just not sure exactly how well he's going to fit in with the Miami Dolphins defense. But sitting here and with Jalen Phillips on the board, I really don't think he's going to be there much later than mid to late first round. This is a guy with tons and tons of potential. Absolutely lit it up in his last year in Miami. Now, he does have the injury concerns. He was forced to retire at UCLA due to all the concussions, the ankle injuries, all that stuff going on. So if Miami can somehow figure out a way for him to stay healthy, this guy has unlimited potential as an edge rusher. Keep him in Miami, keep him around his home. I think he would fit in amazing in this defensive scheme for Miami. So it's a solid pick at number 18. All right, number 19, the Washington football team is going to take a player that the Miami Dolphins just passed up on, and that's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. This guy's a game changer. I think he would fit in really, really well in Washington. He can do a little bit of everything, and I want you to consider how many linebackers you've really seen who can cover tight ends, who can cover wide receivers, who can cover the slot, who can cover in zone, they can cover in man. This guy can do pretty much anything you want a coverage linebacker to do and more. And he's extremely fast, great nose for the ball. I love Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, one of my favorite players in this entire draft. And I think 19 is extremely good value for him for Washington. All right, number 20 is the Chicago Bears, and I certainly think this is a team who could definitely trade up in real life. If there's a quarterback that's fallen a little bit on the board, they are definitely in prime position to do that. But in this situation, I think maybe the best move is just shore up that offensive line. Get someone who you know that you can rely on, who's gonna be there for the future, who's also really, really good in the run as well. And that's Tevin Jenkins. This guy is an absolute monster, mountain of a man. He's super mean, super dynamic, really, really good in the run game, and absolutely crushes guys. So I think this kind of sets the foundation for an offensive line that will be able to really do a lot for their future quarterback. All right, number 21, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, they could definitely go defense with cornerback. That is a need for the team. But I think right now at 21, Rashad Bateman, that is extreme value for Rashad Bateman. He could certainly go higher. Even though they signed T.Y. Hilton back on a one-year deal, it's just a matter of time before he moves on, and he's really kind of past that prime of his career anyways. So I think this is great value for Indianapolis, and Rashad Bateman would be the wide receiver number 1 for the future. Number 22, the Tennessee Titans. Now, these guys desperately need a quarterback. This is a team that cannot wait on cornerback. They have to pick one up, and luckily for them, in this mock draft, Caleb Farley falls all the way to 22. He's got all the tools, really good in zone, really good in man, good size, good speed, great ball skills. This is a cornerback who can do it all for a long time. Now, the reason he falls is obviously because of the injury. So if he can stay healthy, this is a guy who can absolutely change that defense and really be the number 1 guy for a long time. At number 23, the New York Jets. They could certainly go with a lot of different positions. They could definitely address offensive line. But right now, I think Greg Newsome, this is a guy who is mocked to the Jets quite a bit, and I think he would fit in really well. The New York Jets definitely need to shore up their secondary. I think he's a really solid player. He projects as a number 1 cornerback. So I think this is the guy for the future for New York, someone who you can put on the edge and have cover the best wide receiver on the team that you're playing. All right, number 24, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are going to take one of my absolute favorite players in the entire class, and that is Creed Humphrey, center from Oklahoma. This guy is an absolute tank. If you have not watched tape, you haven't seen Creed Humphrey play because he's all the way in Oklahoma, go try to pull up some of his tape. Look at what he does. This guy is an absolute mauler. He handles the D-tackle solo so well, and that's the mark of a really successful center. You really want that guy to be able to handle the nose tackle one-on-one and not get pushed back, create a lot of protection, but someone who can also open up holes in the run game. Creed Humphrey absolutely does it all on an elite level, and he's been doing so for a few years in Oklahoma. Now, this is a team who really needs center, really needs offensive line, and right now I think Creed Humphrey is the best available offensive lineman at 24. All right, number 25, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're also in a position where they could definitely stand to take an offensive lineman, and with some of these top guys coming out, I really think that one player that would surprise you is Alex Leatherwood. I know he's not projected in the first round in these mocks a lot, but this is a guy who could shock you and definitely get taken in the first round. His measurables were outstanding. He played in Alabama with great coaching, and he's also super versatile. He can move all along the offensive line, play guard and tackle, and I think that's a really, really good option for Jacksonville at 25 to help protect the quarterback of the future, that franchise piece in Trevor Lawrence. The Cleveland Browns at 26, this is an interesting pick and a team that could certainly go in a couple of different directions, but I think more than anything at this point in time, they really need someone to help get after the passer. I think right now Christian Barmore is a phenomenal fit for Cleveland. This is a guy who can play right up the middle, who can get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He's not bad against the run. I think he's pretty marginal, but they definitely need someone aside from Myles Garrett to put pressure on the quarterback. Christian Barmore is the best D-tackle in this class, and he gets after the quarterback a ton. The Baltimore Ravens at number 27. This is a really difficult pick, and in my notes I have one guy, but I'm struggling on if I really would want the Ravens to take him or not. Now, the two positions of need that I am really struggling between right now is wide receiver and edge, but I really think that with the way that the Ravens play, this defense runs the team. Even though they have a dynamic offense, even though it's really explosive, I think the defense is really kind of what keeps this team grounded all together. So because of that, if I am the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going after Gregory Rousseau. This is a guy who likely will not be here much longer than 27, with tons of potential, just needs that coaching. And what better team to coach up defensive players than Baltimore? There are really very few teams who are even comparable. Lots of athletic upside, lots of potential. He just needs that technical training and development, and I think he could be a really good option for Baltimore at 27. Okay, number 28, the New Orleans Saints. I think this is also a player who you might be a little surprised I take at 28 for the Saints, and that's Asante Samuel Jr. Don't let him fool you. Just because he is related to his father does not mean that he's just a guy running on his dad's name. Asante Samuel Jr. is a really solid cornerback from Florida State. He's really good in coverage, really good ball skills, very fluid. He can move all around the field and be successful doing so. I think this is a really good option for the New Orleans Saints at 28, and they need help in their secondary. Marshawn Lattimore cannot do it all on his own. They need another guy. Asante Samuel playing opposite Marshawn Lattimore could make up one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL. Green Bay at number 29, also a really interesting pick, but ultimately I think that they're going to finally break the stretch of not taking a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. And I think ultimately, I love Kadarius Toney, I love Terrence Marshall Jr., but I think the appeal of a guy like Rondale Moore is really profound for a team like Green Bay. This is a guy who you can get the ball to quickly and does so much after the catch, maybe even the best in the class aside from maybe Jalen Waddle. Does a lot with the ball in his hands, operates great out of the slot, and you don't have to expect him to come out and be a wide receiver one or have a really diverse route tree. You can kind of just dump it off to him on slants and crossers, where Devontae Adams tends to play, more along the outside of the field. So I think this is decent value for Green Bay at number 29. I think Rondale Moore might go later than 29. I know a lot of people are projecting him to the first round, but I personally just don't really see it. I think this is a guy who has really barely played in college, and because of that, I would like to pick someone up in the first round who's got more experience. That's why I tend to like Kadarius Toney more than Rondale Moore, but still, it's a good pick. I think it's a position of need, and if Green Bay comes out with a wide receiver in round number 1 of this draft, as long as it's not a ridiculous reach, I'm relatively happy if I'm a Packers fan. Number 30, the Buffalo Bills. This is a team who needs help defensively desperately. If I'm the Bills, I'm taking edge all day long. They were one of the worst teams in the league at producing pressure, getting sacks, they really just could not get after the quarterback last year. Now with Azeez Ojulari on the board, it's a really good option. But if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm also looking at Jason Owe with his unbelievable measurables. The way that he performed in his pro day, he ran in the 4.3s as a 6'5", 250 plus defensive lineman. That is unheard of. I mean, such an incredible pro day. So I think the athletic superstar potential of a guy like Owe with more coaching, I just think that's going to be so appealing at number 30 to a team that really needs a guy who is athletic and can just force his way into the backfield. So I think number 30 is good value for Jason Owe. I've seen him mocked a lot higher, and I think this would be an amazing pick for Buffalo at 30. All right, number 31 is the Kansas City Chiefs, and for me, this is a pretty easy pick. It's the second to last pick in this mock draft, and I think they desperately need to get an offensive tackle. Obviously, they released both of their offensive tackles, which was very surprising, I think, to a lot of people. And Patrick Mahomes, we saw in the Super Bowl, needs protection. He needs guys who are going to be able to protect him. Sam Cosmi is one of the best at protecting the quarterback. Not the most incredible offensive lineman in the run, but he can do it. But I think his value is going to be more as a pass protector. I think he's a really good option out of Texas. It's good value at 31. I think that's just a guy who can keep around for a long time to protect one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've seen in a while. And finally, number 32, what better way to round out a mock draft than to pick such a controversial pick? I know some people are really going to hate this one, but I'm doing it anyways just because I personally love this guy. He is slept on. Not a lot of people talk about him at all, and that is Kyle Trask from Florida. I'm a UF fan, so I'm maybe being a little bit biased here, but I think that he would be an excellent option for Tampa Bay. I think this is a guy who could sit back, develop, and really kind of grow into the NFL gradually. I think Kyle Trask has a lot of qualities about a quarterback that you would really like in order for him to be successful. He's got a quick release. He's really good in the pocket, very smart. He's got a good arm, and he's pretty accurate as well. So I think all of those things combined, as well as sitting him behind the greatest quarterback of all time to learn from, I think it's a recipe for potential long-term success for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That way, when Tom Brady is moved on and retiring or going to some other stupid team to win a Super Bowl, God forbid, Kyle Trask can step right in and really kind of keep that train moving for Tampa Bay. So that would be my final pick of the mock draft. Guys, that is it. That's what I've got for you. Let me know what you think of this mock draft. Go ahead and take a peek over at the rest of it real quick. I'll just skim through. But let me know, do you think that this was a good mock draft? Do you think it was terrible? Let me know what you think I hit on. Let me know what you think I missed on. I appreciate you guys stopping by. The draft is 1 week away, and I want to know from you guys, would you like to see me potentially go live for the NFL draft? Now, whether that's just for the Dolphins picks or for the entire first round, I'm just going to do first round only if I go live. But let me know if you'd like to see that down below. And don't forget to smash the like button and also subscribe to the channel. You guys have an awesome day. I appreciate you stopping by. Take it easy, and as always, fins up.